All right. Well, in Seattle this week, I got a lengthy sit down with AWS CEO Matt Garman. We talked growth, Nvidia, OpenAI, and Anthropic, China, even what he's telling his own teenage kids about career preparation in the AI era. We started with the financial results that sent the stock reeling last week.
Look, we added like $1.6 billion of revenue quarter over quarter, and so the growth is really great. And when we talk to customers, the potential out there is just massive. We have maybe by some estimates, 10 to 15% of workloads have moved to the cloud, and so there's an enormous potential out there, and customers are super excited about AI. And so when we think about our strategy, we're laying this groundwork for where we think the real value is for enterprises from an AI perspective, from a modernization perspective, from a cloud perspective for the next 2, 3, 5 years out there. When we talk to customers about AI, which everyone's excited about AI, they should be, it's such a transformative technology that is really going to change everything that customers do and every business and every workflow and every job out there. Mm-hmm. And when you think about that, a lot of the benefits that customers are going to get from a bunch of these in the future, when they really start to measure the ROI and when they really start to see how this is materially changing the business, is going to be from these agentic workflows.
Andy talked about being supply constrained in the cloud. Demand is outstripping what happens when you are supply constrained? Does that customer wait? Do they go with a competitor? How does that fit into the context that people should understand about what's happening?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and frankly, it's a place that we don't love being, and so I think that's something that we work really hard to make sure that we don't get supply constrained on. Sometimes there's a couple of workloads that we're unable to support from very large customers, particularly building very large training clusters or other things like that, where there's just massive amounts of compute, and we have kind of longer term relationships with some of those customers where we kind of plan for future years out. But a lot of what we do is try to make sure that we don't impact mission critical kind of enterprise or startup workflows that are kind of core to what they're doing. And so we think about there's some of these opportunistic workloads where they're really large swaths of capacity that sometimes our view is we want to make sure that customers can run their businesses on us, and that they can take advantage of the innovation and the technology that we have, and that they can trust us for the long term. And so those are the workloads that we really prioritize for our customers as we think about what we can support and what we can't support. And we're working really hard to be able to say yes to everybody. And I feel very good about kind of where we are in the medium to long term. And in the short term, whether it's look, the whole industry is growing incredibly fast, and so no one can say yes to everyone. And part of that is how do you continue to knock down the various constraints that there are in the world. And sometimes it's chips, sometimes it's power, sometimes it's other components, other times it's demand. And then there's always constraints in business when you're trying to figure out which thing is perfect and growing.
But also from a strategic perspective, right? And I wonder how that influences it, because, for example, Nvidia DGX Cloud, where Nvidia is saying, hey, not only will we give you the chips, we'll give you the rack and the networking and tell you how to connect it all. My sense is that Amazon has said, actually, we do that pretty well. Mm-hmm. We want to design our data centers top to bottom, be a great place for Nvidia, but we're going to do that. Does that, in a way, take you longer then to build out your data center infrastructure in a way that you think is going to be long-term efficient? Is that part of what has you ending up supply constrained?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. So just on DGX Cloud, look, we're great partners with NVIDIA. DGX Cloud runs in AWS. In fact, we're one of their biggest DGX Cloud partners. Jensen and I talk all of the time. We're very close partners with NVIDIA. We do add value to that, though, right? And so there's the DGX Cloud where NVIDIA actually adds some really great value to their cloud. They have some software on top to help customers train and get efficiencies out of their hardware, which is great. And they sell that on AWS today, and we have many customers taking advantage of that in AWS today. We also sell NVIDIA servers, GPUs, as EC2 instances. And in those, we do add capabilities there. And so you're right, it's not just the same thing that you go get from everybody else. It actually has what we call Nitro. And so that gives customers much better enterprise security. It gives you better isolation. It gives you much better security. It gives you much better encryption. And so from a security perspective, we feel pretty convicted that that's an important part of running in a customer environment. And so we do add that, but that's unrelated to being supply constrained. We've been building the Nitro system for a decade now. We know how to add that in. And we work very closely with the NVIDIA engineering team to make sure that seamlessly integrates.